Okay, folks, let's talk about politics. Yeah, not looking so good for a few potential nominees or now former potential presidential nominees for the Republican Party. Yeah, and I think first contestant on that list is Mr. Chris Christie, Mr. Krispy Kreme Chris Christie. Drops out of a presidential race. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie suspended his presidential campaign, saying, and I quote, "It's clear to me tonight that there isn't a path for me to win the nomination." Well, what was that? What would be your first clue, Chris? That you weren't that popular in the first place? You know, really? I'm glad you figured it out, but seeing it take you long enough anyway. Get the message, you know. But more to the point, we got situations here where you got different candidates that, Vivek Ramaswamy, he's pretty popular, not for nothing. But I think personally he's still a bit on the young side of things. So I don't think that the country's quite ready for him yet. We need to get to know more about somebody like him, I think, before you make him president. He's still relatively young, so he's still got plenty of time to become president of the United States if that's in the cards for him. But to the point here, you got a vice president that only got in office because she basically piggybacked Joe Biden, because she only had a 9% approval rating in the black community when she tried to run for president. So her actually being president was never in the cards. But as far as the man on the right is concerned, yeah, he's the number one guy. Okay, let's just be real. Donald Trump runs this year, if he's not, unconstitutionally taken off the ballots, and I'm going to say unconstitutionally because, these people are acting like due process doesn't mean anything. You just say somebody is guilty of an insurrection, or that they gave comfort, and they can just basically, just based on authority, just say he did it. No due process. But Donald Trump is, guilty of leading insurrection. Not charged with a crime, but yep, we say so therefore take him off the ballot. Not quite how it works. But yeah, Donald Trump is the number one runner here, and I can tell you right now, right up front, that if it's him and Joe Biden, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump is winning by a long shot. This is going to be a landslide victory. And let's be honest, the establishment, the government, and the Democrats, they know it. They know it. They're just not going to come out and say it. They know that pretty much Donald Trump is pretty much right now a shoo-in to be president, 47th president of the United States. Let's just be honest. Now, again, does Donald Trump perfect? Not by any stretch of imagination. But guess what? You don't know any perfect politicians. You don't know any. If you want to talk about RFK Jr., let me tell you, this guy is basically, on his knees for the Zionists and the whole situation in Israel. So, that's another issue that we got somebody who's potentially more worried about another country, the United States. We got enough of them, okay? We need somebody that's actually going to worry about the people of this country that are, the revenue that they're taking, their tax revenue they're taking from and giving to other places. Yeah, they might actually care about what a lot of us think at this point. And until their hand is forced, not going to happen. And I'm telling you, black folks, we got a lot to say over this situation, whether you want to believe it or not. But if you want to continue to have the defeatist mentality a lot of older generation people have, you want to buy into some of the lies that they told you, then you're going to keep on being a sucker for the rest of your life, because a lot of those old bags don't give two shits about you. They want you to keep staying on the plantation so they can be comfortable. But guess what? They're not going to live a whole lot longer. And at some point, you got to basically say, listen, I'm not listening to you folks no more. We're taking over the future. You're going to be gone. And guess what? We're going to choose which way our destiny goes. You will not anymore. That's it. Got enough of them in Congress right now. They need to be out there. They need to be forced out. So that's, again, another conversation. But we got to look at the seriousness of the situation. And again, like I said before, we have a lot of power in the situation. The question is, are we going to actually operate as a collective on an issue where we need to? Clearly. But if we're not going to, it's going to go how it's going to go. But I'm sorry. There's not one single reason for foundational Black Americans in this country to vote for the Democrats. There's not a reason. I mean, there's reasons, but I can tell you, those reasons are delusional. These are people who still want to stay on the aspect of believing that, they're going to be able to get crumbs off of master's table, and they're going to be able to be told that there's something they're not, and they're too busy wanting to pretend there's something they're not. We got to get off of that mentality. We really do. We got to get off that plantation, because we're going to die there. It's not that far around the corner, folks. As a lot of y'all understand, okay? You think all these illegal immigrants are letting here just by accident? It's not. It's not. The era trying to change the scope of things, and I'm telling you right now, it's not to your advantage at all. But if you're so busy being focused on who's racist, who's not, here's the reality. Your man Joe Biden spent decades exercising things that hurt Black people. So that's a fact. Go look it up, okay? Look at the bills that he either sponsored, co-sponsored, or made himself, and then got passed, okay? Look at the stuff that he's done. Look at things that he said. Look at the people who mentored him. I mean, come on. He had 3 people, okay? You have a segregationist with Strom Thurmond. You have a neo-Confederate of James O. Eastland. And then you have Robert Byrd, who's a former KKK leader. And he gave eulogies at their funerals, okay? You people cannot just look past that and say, we don't like Donald Trump. Okay, you know what? I'm going to bring up a sore subject in regards to Donald Trump's family history, okay? Which it can be proven, or it may not be able to be proven. But even if it's true, let me just bring this into fold, because I'm sure there's going to be some Negro who's going to bring this to forefront as the excuse not to vote for Donald Trump. Well, there's rumor has it that Donald Trump's father was a KKK guy, Fred Trump. He was a KKK guy. Now, I personally believe that it's probably true, because there's an article from 1927, I believe, where his father was at a KKK rally or some protest, and he was arrested, but he wasn't charged. He was released. But, the question is, we don't know if Donald Trump's dad was there to support the KKK or he was there as a protest against the KKK. We don't know either way. But if I had to guess, it was probably for the KKK. But even if that's true, all right, how much of that can you hold Donald Trump responsible for? Now, could that say something somewhat about his upbringing? Yeah, it could. But remember, Donald Trump was also raised in New York City, where he had to deal with a lot of different types of people. And at the end of what you folks got to understand is that it ain't about what somebody feels about you, about what business they're willing to do with you and what leverage you can use to get what you want. That's what this comes right down to. But a lot of us have not been taught culturally to operate that way, which is the biggest part of our problem. Which is the fact is that you have these people in here who just want to say, you know what? This person says nice things about me, so I'll ride on that. I'll live off of the fact somebody says something nice about me, but whether they actually feel any way about me, put it this way, what somebody feels about you and what somebody does for you, 2 different things. I mean, this is what we got to understand here. This, when they say the expression, this is chess, not checkers. Okay? A lot of us, we've been playing checkers for decades while everybody else is playing chess. And we got to just, come on, got to get honest with ourselves. And I know some of you said to me that you've lost friends over this issue. Well, you know what? Me too. But guess what? You know what? I don't give a damn. You know why? Because I have strength in my convictions in this situation. Again, did Donald Trump probably have some things that I'm not so crazy about? I'm sure. But They're going to say, well, we shouldn't vote for lesser two evils. Well, we do all the time. We vote for the Democrats for how many years? We have been, come on. When you have been basically neglected for all these years, you got to ask yourself, well, come on, guys. We got to show these people, if nothing else, that we're willing to go into a different camp to get what we want. If they believe that you're never going to vote for any other party but them, then what they're going to do is they're going to try to wash out your vote, which is what's going on right now. I'm telling you, this is the future, folks. You can believe it or you don't have to believe it, but I'm telling you, this is the future. The idea is ultimately to get these people the right to vote. And a lot of these folks that's coming in this country that they letting in here don't give a shit about your black ass. And they know it. That's why they got no problem letting them in here. Okay, Joe Biden brought a whole bunch of Ukrainians in this country, I think, into Pennsylvania. This was done in secret. I mean, that's just a small example. I think something was like around, I don't know, it was 100,000, but it was somewhere in that range or under. But somebody correct me if they got the right number, put in the comment section. But I mean, come on, you got all this stuff going on here. So, I mean, when are we going to really wake up? Would you just, really, you are going to, really, we are right on the verge. This is not hyperbole, okay? It's not. A lot of you don't realize this is not hyperbole. This is not an exaggeration. This is fear mongering. We have not been getting anything for a vote for decades. And at some point here, they're working on making your voting irrelevant to them. Okay? Making your vote irrelevant. And if you don't operate in the proper way as a community, your community doesn't exist. That's the whole thing about the bifurcation of the black community that Dr. Ron Neal talks about, which is the split of having two separate classes or groups within one group, based on gender in this case, where the dominant society and a lot of these companies and these government institutions propel black women over the men. This has been going on for the longest time. Now they want to give, how these corporations want to give black women loans, all this other stuff, not like they don't already have certain benefits from government welfare and certain benefits that women get that men don't get. And it may be primarily because they have children, but even if they don't, there's so many facilities. Look, there's all kinds of abuse facilities for women, very few for men. And the idea that there's this lack of abuse against men from women in relationships is a joke. Do you know where the highest percentage of partner violence as far as relationships are in this country? Gay women. Okay? Gay women. So, we gotta really, and black men I'm talking to specifically here. If we want to be in a position where we can prosper, we can have protection, we can have some power in this game, we have to start voting that way, which means we got to ignore these simps that still want to, be about the mama culture. They want to be, all about, well, what do the women think? No. You need to be a man, or to be a man, you need to determine what your future is, not what any woman thinks, not even your own mother. That's the bottom line. A lot of you folks are grown as hell, and you're still thinking like young Trojans that need permission. You don't. When you go in that voting booth, nobody's there but you. Nobody's supposed to be over your shoulder but you. You're supposed to be in that booth by yourself. It means you vote by yourself. That means whatever you vote is what you want to vote. That's what everybody else is doing. Okay? That's what black women are doing. There's a handful of black women that's voting maybe for the community. I'm telling you, it's not nearly enough. Look at the ones they got on TV. Look at the culture they push, to get, the image they portray out there. Come on, we got to be strategic about this. Okay? We got to be strategic about this. You got this one right here on the left who had no business being in the White House at all. Okay? No business being in the White House. She's not black. Her father may be Jamaican. Her mother's Indian. And then she still does not have, she's not a part of the foundational black American culture. She's not, again, another one that's not connected to us. But you know who we do have? So we know who we do have that's connected to us? This brother right here. Okay. Representative out of Florida, Byron Donalds. Now, a lot of you probably don't know him, or some of you may know him. But there's a lot of things I can say that I like about him. And he's got a very, very good relationship with Donald Trump. All right. And let's just say he's married to a white woman. He has 3 sons that I've seen. And one of them boys is big too, plays football, you can see. But Byron Donald's a big man too. He's about 6'2", 6'3", 275. That's not a small man by any stretch of imagination. So I'm quite sure he can handle himself. But again, very eloquent brother, very intelligent brother. He's a fiscal conservative, I believe, and I think I like a lot of how he thinks, I gotta say. And you know what? He's no saint. He did some stuff when he was a kid, but guess what? Look what he's done. Look where he's built himself to. He deserves the credit he gets now. Obviously, you got people in Congress, in the squad, I think it was Cory Bush, who had the audacity to refer to him as a quote-unquote prop of the Republican Party, which is just basically saying that he's a token. Well, I can tell you, Byron Donalds is not a token. At least not to my perspective. I pay attention enough to know better than that. Okay? He's involved in the financial markets and things like that. So he brings value, okay? Oh, he brings value to that party. Best believe. And that might be one person you might want to pay attention to. That is one person that I kind of in my own heart of hearts kind of hope that Donald Trump picks him to be his VP, but I kind of don't think he will, or he should necessarily should. And maybe Byron Donald's not even going to run. Maybe he doesn't want to be in the running, but at the end of the day, he's close enough to Donald Trump where that probably could be a possibility. And I'll be honest with you, for all you folks that are saying Donald Trump is racist, I think Donald Trump is got enough courage that he would try something like that. He would put Byron Donalds, and you know something? If he did that, he actually say he did something unprecedented. He actually say that he actually brought a actual black man on the road to get into the White House. And I know some of you are going to sit there and say, how do you say that? We have Barack Obama. You know, the difference is this man actually has foundational black American blood in his system. Barack Obama does not. Barack Obama's father was Kenyan, which he never knew. His mother was Irish. So at the end of the day, this man is much more connected to us than Donald Trump, Barack Obama. Let's just get that straight. But anyway, this is like, I'm telling you, if this race is going to come down to this, if the race is going to come down to this, guys, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump will win by a landslide. The establishment knows it. They're panicking right now. They know that they're hurting bad in the black vote. They know it big time. And they're trying every tactic they can. That's the reason why now, look, they're trying the whole thing of taking them off the ballot. The Supreme Court, in my opinion, is more likely going to strike that down. Because you can't, if that's the case, we could do this forever. We could just say, okay, we could use every little instance of crimes that could somehow be perceived to interfere with an election or a vote and say that, this is an attempt for an insurrection or to interfere with the government, right? We could just keep playing this game back and forth. We have enough of that in this country. We need to do something different, okay? We need to do something different. We need to get away from this game, okay, that we got playing right now. Okay? We need to get in this game. Black men, you need to think about yourselves. Let me just say that outright. Y'all need to think about yourself. You need to think about your future. Because this is the reality of it. The future of the black community is through you. Point blank, period. Don't let nobody tell you no fucking different. If there is to be a future to be had for the black community, it's going to be through you. Which means you need to get things you need to get. You got the highest illiteracy rate. You got the highest unemployment rate, the highest mortality rate, highest incarceration rate. Okay? You need something. You need something. And I'm going to be honest with you, as far as anything anybody can say or argue against, Donald Trump's the one that's at least pretended, if you want to call it pretend, to actually consider doing something that will benefit black men. You don't hear anything about Democrats. If you do, please somebody present that in the comment section. I'll wait. I'm quite sure I'm not going to be, I'll be waiting a long time to hear something that's actually legitimate. Let's just say that. So at some point here, we gotta just say, look, sometimes we have to do things based on what is going to help us to get in a position. Like, you hear all these arguments about these women saying that the men, they're supposed to protect, they can't provide, they can't do this, they can't do that. You got everything. You got every negative stereotype that black men, they don't take care of their kids, which is a lie, actually, proportionate lie. Okay, but that's another story. Okay, you can't protect, you can't provide, you got no power. This is what people will say about black men, right? We're this, we're that, right? We hear this from women in our own community. So you know what we need to do? Be smart enough to vote for what we want, not what they want. Look at what those women did on Fox Soul to Ice Cube, okay? When he was talking about that contract, Black America, and that whole thing, what was supposed to be to help the black community, they scoffed at that idea. They said it wasn't enough. And then when they said, well, there's nothing, you know what they had in there? Said, oh, there's nothing in there for black women. And he said, aren't black women part of the black community since this bill is supposed to help the entire black community? Oh, no, we need something separate. See, they don't want to be seen as part of black men. That's what those women told you. Now, I know Lisa Ray tried to come back and try to do damage control on that, but that's a bunch of BS, okay? Because they know they got a very negative reaction about what they said, and they know they had to look at what they said, and there was no way they could defend that. Okay, because if anything, Ice Cube's probably one of the longest running advocates for black women, okay? And this is the treatment he got, which was that, no, that's not good enough. We need something separate. So we don't need something that's with the black community. We need something just for ourselves. So that right there tells you, brother, guess what? They're not your women. You need to save yourself. Vote for what you want. Vote for what you need to put yourself in position, because at the end of the day, the only way that the community is going to be saved is through you. Meaning that if you get in a position where you have power, you have some influence, you can have some ownership, and you can control something, that's what that can benefit your family's community. Because a lot of you do, even these rappers who end up making money, they end up bankrupting themselves on their own family half the time. Constantly giving them stuff. Okay? Houses, this, that, and the third. And then they're mismanaging their money. So let's not act like black men, or look, you can go as far as, somebody like Casanova 2 times, or Chief Keef. Come on, these dudes have, I'm sure, hooked their mamas up, okay? And they still struggling, all right, because mismanagement of money, too many people pulling them in different directions, all those other things. You need to vote to protect yourself, to give yourself an opportunity to get in business for yourself, create your own business, start working together. You brothers need to stop the nigga nonsense and wanting to be against each other, and start finding reason to work together. And again, you need to start having spaces where you can communicate with other men, and men can actually mentor other men without the influence of women. Okay? If you're a man, why do you need a woman to tell you how to be a man? You can't. You have to learn from other men. Okay? If anything, if every time that you have women in your spaces to tell you how to be men, you're never going to be, because they're going to tell you to do things that are advantageous to them. That's just going to be in their nature. So let's just be real. So you need to have spaces where you have the say of what goes on, how it goes on. And that's it. Within your own group of males. Okay? Again, we have a high illiteracy rate, which is a big problem, especially for black men. Because that has been disempowering since slavery, okay? That illiteracy rate. There's no reason these young boys not be. There has to be a push. And if it ain't being in front of their mamas or their families, there's got to be a system that we got to create that's going to push for that. There's got to be something that's going to push for that. Or make it a bill, for example, connected to lowering black male illiteracy, and say that these women, say, for example, they're single mother homes, that they're not going to get certain incentives unless they are making sure that their sons, in particular, are being shown. The numbers got to start showing every year. Say, not necessarily pick out even individual family, but something that's going to fight against illiteracy in the black community, particularly in the boys, because that's where the focus needs to be. Because that's the biggest problem. All right? There needs to be bills put together for things like that that's going to say, hey, listen, if this boys can't read within a certain level, we're not going to keep giving this funding to these families until this problem is corrected. And if they want to cry and complain, too bad. You ain't going to get the money unless you do, since you want to rely on the government. See, if the government really wanted to help the black community, they would do things like that. Okay? That's just something that came off the top of my head. Start doing things that's going to create incentives and also punishments when you don't do certain things. You want that funding? Do what we need you to do. If you don't do it, you don't get it. Want to hear this? No fair and all this other stuff. And what about the males and all this other crap? Well, guess what? You want the male in the house? Have a male that you have a bed. Now, men actually, but a lot of you don't want men. You just want males. But let's just call it what it is. If you want to call them men, let's just call them men just for the sake of calling them men, right? If you want that, you know what you do? Don't have a whole bunch of kids by different dudes. Okay? You have a kid by somebody else you ain't with them no more. Don't go and have another kid by someone else, another kid by someone else. No, don't do it. Because guess what? Say what you want to say. You're in control of who gets in between your legs. Talk about who's on birth control. Talk about why can't he do this or this. No, you don't have to have sex with him. If you have a home, you have children, and you want your children to take care of you, and the government help, you do the things that you need to do. That's on you. That's not on the male. The one way that's going to be on the male is if he rapes you. Otherwise, most of the time, it's your choice. You women are allowing this. Let's just be real. We're talking about lowest percentage of case. If rape is not happening like that in any community, maybe higher percentage in certain cultures, but at the end of the day, it's not happening to a point where women just can't not stop having babies by different people. Let's just cut it out. Okay? I'm just using that as an example. There has to be some accountability for the women. So you have people like Dr. Umar who does nothing but want to hold the men accountable for things they can't control. Oh, the men, if they step up and be leaders. Yeah, because the men can control what the women do when you have a government that funds them and gives them an incentive to not listen to you because they don't have to, right? They don't create programs that say, hey, if you have a man in the house and you can get along, we're going to give you stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get that funding. They don't do stuff like that. You are irrelevant. Matter of fact, they make it to where you can be. They can make you irrelevant. Other than to put you in jail if you don't pay for those kids if they take a child support court. You dudes got to look. You know what state I'm really disgusted in? Georgia. I'm going to tell you why. Because Negroes voted for Stacey Abrams down there at 85%. She didn't win to become governor, right? But the idea that black men still voted for Stacey Abrams when she basically talked down to Al Sharpton, talked down to you, told you, oh, if a black man is, afraid of voting black women, he's insecure. All the shaming tactics they use, and you Negroes still voted for that bitch at 85%. Y'all got to be kidding. When she don't give a damn about black men. Let's just be real. But y'all so busy. Some of y'all down there are just so freaking thirsty and starving for female validation. Y'all don't know what to do with yourselves. Then you wonder why you don't get respect from the males in other groups. Because you can't even make a decision that says, hey, I'm going to take control of this community. I'm going to vote in a way that's going to give me a chance to have benefit. Basically, I'm going to use my vote as to give to basically so I can get value return that I need for my vote. Oh, but I got to think about women. I mean, come on, there's videos out there where this boy said that he wasn't going to vote for the Democrats. His mama sat there, his sister was sitting there recording and laughing. His mom was in the car practically cursing him out. Because, matter of fact, I think he might have said he was considering voting for Trump. But because he didn't want to vote for the Democrats, she wanted to go into this whole rant tirade on this boy about not wanting to vote for the Democrats. See, this is what we got to understand. They're not worried about you. They're worried about you only when they can use you for something. Majority of them. At the end of the day, no matter whether that's true or not. Now, people argue about whether I'm saying true. It doesn't matter. You still be voting for what you need to vote for. Okay? So let's just, that way, the ones that want to make that argument, realize this. If they're 18 years old and don't want to vote, they can vote how they want to vote. And your mama should have no say about how you vote. You vote how you want to vote. I'm saying that, me right here, on the Black Bushido channel, I'm saying to brothers, you vote how you need to vote. That's going to be to your benefit for your interest, not anyone else but yours, because you can't help anyone else unless you can help yourself. And you need to push for legislation and things that you know are going to help you to create the environment that you need in order to uplift and improve your community or your family in general. Let's say your family in general. Because here's the reality. You have to have a strong family. You need strong families to have strong nations, right? When you have a strong family, there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of problems that are not going to occur. But when you have this push in this country to break up the nuclear family, to do all this woke, effeminate crap, then you wonder why we're losing out here in the world. This is why. We have such a matriarchal, gynocratic community. Come on, we're never going to win that way. You see what that's doing for us now? We got all these ghettos, we got crime, we got poverty, we got all this stuff. It's not going to work. And now I'm going to say, we know that the government helped promote a lot of this dysfunction. But we know this, so they say knowing's half the battle. Change direction. That's the bottom line. Change direction. I'm not saying it's easy, but at the end of the day, you got to stop being subject to the influence of the gynocratic order. But you got some of these brothers out here that are running around here being a bunch of male feminists looking stupid. Those brothers right there, you need to disregard them. They need to learn a hard lesson, which means stop letting them eat at the table with you if they're not going to do what it takes to fill that table, to keep that table replenished when they're voting against their own gender's progress and prosperity. Come on, man. Because they're the ones telling you don't do this, don't do that, because they think like a lot of the women do. A lot of the welfare cases, single mothers, because they were raised by one, and a lot of them think that way, and they're basically thinking against their own interests, and they've been speaking sounds just like their mama. That's got to stop, man. It's got to stop. You got to stop listening to some of these old, I hate to say this too, you're going to have to stop listening to some of these old Negroes, particularly, I'm not saying but most of them, a lot of these boomers, you have to stop listening to them. Because a lot of these boomers have been lying to you for years. And a lot of these boomers basically tell you the truth, laugh at your failure. They sit right in your face and laugh. Because you know why? Because they don't really want, a lot of them really don't want you to do better than them. Look at a lot of these ones that's still in Congress. What have they done? What has Jane Clyburn done really in South Carolina but maintain the line for the establishment and for the status quo in the dominant society? What does he do? Give some fish fries every once in a while. You Negroes keep voting for him down there. I mean, really, we got to look at some of the dysfunctional politics and the voting that we do. We keep voting for some of the same people who have been giving us nothing for years. And I don't care what color they've been. I don't care. See, that's what we got to get out of. See, that's where we get so caught up in race. It's a big part of the problem. Who cares what color the person is that's going to do something for you, that's going to do a deal? Who cares? No, you guys will keep, some of y'all will keep voting for somebody because they look like your grandmammy, your great-grandmammy, your mammy. You'll vote for them, and they'll sit there and do nothing for you. Matter of fact, they'll work against you the other side for a few shekels off the table. Start thinking that, guess what? Say what you want about the Republicans. I said this before. You worry about racism? Well, hey, guess what? You're not going to get away from racism by voting for the Democrats. Let me just let you know. Because even if they're not outright there being proactive racist, they're complicit at what goes on. Because they basically get out of the way and allow the freaking machine to slam right into you. So if they may not be the active racist, but they're complicit in the racism that comes against you. Okay, let's just be real. So what's the difference between one punching in the face and the other one that's holding you there to get hit? They're basically just as guilty. So you need to think, okay, third party, anything else could be an option. Not voting is also an option. But what I'm going to say is, my opinion is, the reason I think, this is my opinion, and again, I know some of you disagree, some of you will. In my opinion, I think that the country deserves to have Donald Trump back in office for 4 more years. And I say that because I think, to be honest, things weren't that bad under Donald Trump. Now, that doesn't guarantee that if he gets back in and gets reelected this year, doesn't mean that he's not going to say there's not a possibility for change. But we know we're not going to get anything different under Joe Biden. Because really, this is Barack Obama's 3rd term. Because he's been advising him. He's got Anthony Blinken back in there. That was from Trump. That was from Obama. A few other people got in there from Obama. So they're running the same game. Like I told you, Joe Biden did a record number of executive orders in the first 40 days. Why? Because they were too busy trying to reset everything that Donald Trump did. So they go back to and some of it was just downright stupid. Some of the stuff was beneficial. They hurt us with COVID. It hurt small business. A lot of black small business got hurt because of those COVID lockdowns. You realize that? Black historical bookstores, everything got shut down behind those lockdowns. Well, basically, big companies made record profits. Amazon made record profits off of the lockdowns. You realize that? Record profits. And the small business got shut down. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you what I know. I had a book years ago. Somebody borrowed it and never gave it back to me. It's the book called They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima. Well, I wanted to go rebuy that book, so I did. But now, do you know that book at one point was almost $200? Actually, it was over $200 on Amazon right around that time of COVID. It went back down, but ultimately, I could have paid $200 at one point for that book. That's how much the price gouging was just outrageous that was going on. But you know what? they were able to get away with it because, you know why? Because Amazon's got inside track. That's why. Let's call it what it is. Jeff Bezos got inside track. And people like Joe Biden will allow that. Same way with Elon Musk. Same way with all the rest of them. Same way with Bill Gates. Same way with all of them, okay? And yes, I said Elon Musk because I'm going to tell you something. Elon Musk may be a little bit more of benevolent, but he's not that much more benevolent of a dictator than the rest of them. Because I can tell you right now, that man is doing a lot on Twitter, whether he wants to call it community notes or whatever. Maybe he's not as bad as Jack Dorsey and guys, but at the end of the day, there's definitely a certain group of people that he's catering to because he's trying to save his platform from going down, from them attacking the advertising. Say whatever he wants to say, come out there and all the bravado and act like he don't care. But guess what? He already did his penance. Okay, he already paid his little dues and his what do you want to call that? He already paid his tithes when he went over this other country. He paid his tithes when he did that. So now he can act like he's not compromised, but he is. Let's just be real. So and again, it's not about being Republican, it's not about being Democrat, okay? I'm looking at the Republican Party as a different option because we got to start looking at it. We never have. And again, are there problems in the Republican Party? Sure, but guess what? We have to look for opportunities here. We got to look for openings. We got to look at local elections. We got to stop doing this lazy thing of just voting for who's not racist. That's not working. They ain't been working for years, and that's what I mean about these old retreads. Hell, even Cornel West is still on that crap. Okay, so we got to understand that that's an old boom right there, a prime example. Maybe he means well, but guess what? He's behind the times, and a lot of them are not going to change. Okay, the Gen Xers, they did. I mean, we got done real dirty by the boomers on our ways, but at the end of the day, guess what? We're still here at the end of the day. We got to have our voices heard, because at this point, a lot of us are more the true elders than some of them, because a lot of them just basically are a bunch of selfish, overgrown children. Let's just be real. Except maybe the anomalies are people like maybe, Judge Joe Brown, Dr. Claude Anderson, people like that, but those are few and far between. They're not the majority, they're not the norm. Especially like Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson's been talking to black folks about how to get economically savvy and prosperous for years. And you know what? People in his own generation didn't listen to him. Most of them didn't listen to him. Let's be real. He got people in his kids' era that are listening to him more now than the folks that listen to him in his own generation. When they've been talking about this stuff for 40 years. So really, we got to get out of our feelings. We got to start thinking strategic. We got to start thinking that we can do something besides look for somebody to give us a pat on the head. We got to we got to look at history. We know that, guess what? We've had some failures, but we need to learn. See, that's one thing about history. You're supposed to learn from the mistakes of history, not just be trapped in them and say, well, that happened, so we can't do it. We can say, well, they did this when we did this. Okay, they destroyed our cities when we did this. Doesn't matter. Learn from the mistakes of why that happened and then correct them. Same with the Black Panthers. A lot of these black empowerment organizations got compromised and infiltrated by government agents, a lot of our own people doing it. People from other groups that we're letting in that aren't part of the group, that are not connected to us historically, that because we are so inclusive, we try to be so inclusive, but guess what? What ends up happening, you gotta look at the lessons of some of these other organizations, like for example, the Italian Mafia. Now, technically, the Mafia is not in the United States. The Mafia is out of Italy. That's what started the whole thing, because the Cosa Nostra is what we have here in the United States. They're the Italian mob, but they're derived out of Italy, okay? It's like how you have Mexicans, you have Chicanos. Chicanos are basically Mexican descendants, or they're descendants of Mexicans. It's basically the same way it is with the La Cosa Nostra. Most of them, they were born in America, so therefore, you have to be born in Italy to be in the Mafia. If I'm correct about that, I'm pretty sure I am. If I'm not, I'm sure somebody will point it out. But there's still a difference, see, based on where you were born. So everybody respects that boundary of being something versus something else, derived from something else, or a descendant of something else, but it's still stated that you're a descendant of that. You are not born in the soil of that country. You're a descendant of people born in that country, but you are not directly born in that soil. That's what's pointed out. But again, Wow, this video turned out to be a lot longer than I actually planned on it being. But my point is that we got to get past some of the stuff, man. We got to. I'm telling you, we don't have a lot of time, folks. I'm telling you, we don't. We do not have a lot of time. Let me tell you something. That John Lewis voting rights bill, that in itself was a setup. That was a setup to help to funnel it. I'm telling you right now, to funnel all kinds of votes. They wanted you to vote for that, but they wanted to convince you that it was to help you. That's how much respect they got for you, folks. Do you understand that? That's how much respect they got for you. Do you realize that? That's how much confidence they don't have in you. Okay, they're counting on you. They're counting on being able to trick you. Shows you how much respect they have for you. You know what? You know how you gain respect? How you gain the respect is not that you care about it, but you know how you gain the respect? By not letting them push you around. Stop falling for the trick bag. There's just no reason for this. I mean, come on, what have we got all this time? Now there's immigrants in there taking up that funding. So if that don't tell you nothing now, I don't know what will. I'm going to say probably nothing ever will. Because if that isn't a signal that they don't care about you, they all these immigrants coming in here, and a lot of them are going into big cities, and that funding that's getting taken is money that's getting taken to help these illegal immigrants, is hurting black people directly. It's hurting black folks directly. And some of you folks are still going to make excuses about how I'm not going to vote for, Donald Trump, or I'm not going to vote for this one, that one. Listen, you need to make your vote a strategic vote. Okay? You need to vote on your interests. Everybody else does. Everybody else does. Okay? Everybody else does. We're the only group of people who just seem to keep voting to help everybody else, and then we get nothing out of it. What do we get? We get the shaft. We don't get, you know what I mean? Come on, guys. It's been years now since we've been told, wait. We got black preachers, the Obamas, everybody else telling us this, to fall back. Still got old folks like Al Sharpton and the rest of them still getting their freaking coffers filled by telling us to basically let's use Al Sharpton as an example. Al Sharpton's been out there on the front line so many times when there's been some type of injustice against black people. Please name one time that he actually got any justice for black folks. I'll wait. Got a lot of publicity, probably got money, but at the end of the day, guess what? Got no justice for a lot of people. Got no justice for Trayvon Martin. Got no justice for a lot of folks they went. I mean, then the whole Trump Brawley thing. Look, we got to be real. It's time to change. Stop listening to these folks. Look at the results and stuff they said. Don't matter how old, don't matter how long they lived. We got to move in direction, folks. And the time is right now. This year. We need to make a big statement. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to say it right now. It's not going to be made by voting for Democrats. That's all I'm going to say.